J. Something happened this week that you did not plan for. Maybe the project fell through. Maybe someone you trusted let you down. Maybe your body reminded you it has limits you cannot negotiate with. And now you are sitting with that familiar weight, the feeling that life has handed you something you did not ask for, something you would never have chosen. You are looking at the gap between what you expected and what actually arrived, and it feels heavy. What if the question is not how to escape that feeling, but how to meet it differently? What if there is a way to stand inside difficulty without being consumed by it, and without pretending it does not hurt? There is a Latin phrase that speaks directly to this moment: Amor Fati. It translates simply as love of fate, not tolerance of fate, not grudging acceptance. Love. The concept refers to seeing everything that happens, including suffering and loss, as good or necessary. That is a staggering idea. And if you hear it for the first time in a moment of real pain, it can sound dismissive, even cruel. So let us slow down and understand what it actually asks of us, what it does not ask, and why generations of thinkers have returned to it in their hardest seasons. The concept of Amor Fati has deep roots in Stoic philosophy, though the exact Latin phrase as we use it today became prominent through later thinkers. The Stoic framework it draws from is older and more layered. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who governed during plague, war, and repeated personal grief, practiced something very close to this idea throughout his private journal, the work we now call the Meditations. He did not write for an audience. He did not intend publication. He wrote to hold himself accountable to principles he found genuinely difficult to live by, day after day, under enormous pressure. That raw honesty is what makes his words still breathe across centuries. He faced circumstances most of us will never encounter, and still he returned to the same basic discipline. Meet what is here. Work with what is real. The Stoics taught that the universe operates according to a rational order, and that resistance to what has already occurred is a misuse of our mental energy. This is not the same as saying that nothing should change or that injustice should go unchallenged. Rather, it draws a sharp line between what has already happened and what we choose to do next. The event is not in your control. Your response is. That distinction, simple as it sounds, changes everything about where you place your attention and your effort. Now, here is the core teaching. Amor Fati asks you to go beyond mere acceptance. Acceptance says, this happened and I will endure it. Amor Fati says, this happened and I will find the material within it to build something meaningful. It reframes obstacles not as interruptions to your life, but as the very substance of your life. The obstacle is not blocking your path. In a real sense, it is your path. Every difficulty you have ever faced has shaped your understanding, your empathy, your skill. Amor Fati simply asks you to recognize that shaping as it happens, rather than only in hindsight years later. Let me be honest about why this is hard. We live in a culture that tells us we should be able to optimize our way out of difficulty. That if something painful happens, it means we failed to prepare or protect ourselves adequately. Social media reinforces this daily, showing us curated lives where obstacles seem absent and ease seems like the natural state. Amor Fati does not fit neatly into that framework. It is not a productivity hack. It is not positive thinking dressed in Latin. It asks something much more vulnerable of you. It asks you to stop arguing with reality and instead bring your full creativity and character to whatever is actually here, even when here is not where you want it to be. And I want to be clear about something important. This principle does not mean you should suppress grief. It does not mean you ignore when something is genuinely wrong or unjust. If you are suffering, you are allowed to say so. If you need help, whether from a friend, a professional, or a community, seeking it is not a failure of philosophy. Amor Fati is a practice for how you relate to events over time, how you integrate difficulty into the larger arc of your life. It is not a way to silence yourself in the moment of pain, and anyone who uses it that way has misunderstood the teaching. So what does this look like as a daily practice? Let us make it concrete, because philosophy that stays abstract never changes a life. In the morning, before your day begins, take 1 minute. Acknowledge that today will contain things you did not choose. Perhaps say to yourself, whatever comes today, I will look for what I can use, what I can learn, what I can build from it. This is not a mantra to make you feel invincible. It is a preparation to stay engaged rather than retreating when difficulty arrives. It sets an intention not for a perfect day, but for a responsive one. In the moment when something frustrating or painful actually happens, pause before reacting. Ask one question. What does this make possible that was not possible before? You may not have an answer immediately. That is fine. The question itself shifts your orientation from victim of circumstance to active participant in your own story. Sometimes the answer is nothing yet, and that honesty is part of the practice too. You are not forcing false gratitude, you are staying open. In the evening, review your day. Find one event you initially resisted, one moment where you felt that familiar contraction of frustration or disappointment. Then ask, did anything useful come from that? Did I grow? Did I learn something about my own capacity or about the people around me? Over weeks, this practice builds a quiet confidence. Not the confidence that nothing bad will happen, but the confidence that you can meet what does happen with something more than despair or avoidance. The transformation that comes from repeated practice is not dramatic overnight. It is subtle and cumulative, like a river slowly reshaping stone. You begin to notice that you waste less energy on arguments with the past. You recover faster from setbacks, not because they hurt less, but because you have trained yourself to move through them, rather than getting stuck in a cycle of resentment or self-pity. You start to see difficulty as information rather than punishment, as material rather than waste. This does not make you superhuman. It does not make you untouchable. It makes you more resilient in a way that is honest and earned, built through repetition rather than granted by a single insight. Now let us zoom out. Amor Fati connects to the broader Stoic understanding that our judgments about events cause more suffering than the events themselves. When something unwanted happens, the first injury is the event. The second, often larger injury is the story we tell ourselves about it, that it should not have happened, that it proves something dark about our future, that we are unlucky or broken or somehow deserving of pain. Amor Fati interrupts that second injury. It does not deny the first. It simply refuses to add a false narrative on top of what already hurts. It holds the event clearly and asks, what now, rather than why me? This is ultimately about living with what is real, not what you wish were real, not what used to be real, what is actually here, now, in front of you, and choosing, with full awareness of the difficulty, to love your life as it is, not a fantasy version, not a curated version. This one, the messy, unpredictable, sometimes painful one that is actually yours. That love is not passive, it is the most active choice you can make. Think back to that moment we started with, the plan that fell through, the trust that was broken, the body that reminded you of its limits. Amor Fati does not erase any of that, but it offers you a different relationship with it. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me, you begin asking, what will I make of this? And in that shift, small as it sounds, lives an entirely different way of moving through the world. A way that does not depend on circumstances being kind, but on you being present and willing. Seeing everything that happens, including suffering and loss, as carrying within it the seed of something necessary. That is Amor Fati, not a denial of pain, a commitment to meaning, practiced one day at a time. Stoicism, master your judgments, practice what is yours to control,